Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, the Las Vegas Raiders have the number 8 pick, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to do a NFL mock draft for the silver and black. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the mock that I have created because I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler. I did trade up for a quarterback. Before I get into this mock and we're going to rock out, hey man, huge shout out to our sponsor, Panda Supps. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasupps.com. I recommend the protein. I recommend the BCAs. And if you're trying to lose a few trying to lose a few LBs, not linebackers, I recommend trying out the fat burners. It's unbelievable. It sheds weight off you. That's all I'm going to say. So let's look at right now the 2025 NFL draft order after week 17. The silver and black are sitting there at number 8. And the way that I did this draft was I went best player available because I figured, you know what? No way Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is going to fall all the way down to 8. And yes, those are two quarterbacks that I spent a lot of time talking about, but neither QB is really truly a guy that I want to give up a lot of future for because I am a little bit uncertain of how good that they're going to be in the National Football League. So with that being said, I ended up going best player available, and I'll tell you who I took here at number 8. Let's first, though, look how this mock ended up going. Travis Hunter goes off the board at number 1. Cam Ward goes number 2 to the Tennessee Titans. Number 3 is Abdul Carter. Shedeur Sanders goes number 4 to the New York Giants. And then, as you can see, the Las Vegas Raiders there are on the clock at number 8. So my question is, who would you have drafted? But for me personally, it was between 3 players. It was between Ashton Jeanty, running back for Boise, Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, Will Campbell, offensive tackle for LSU, or if you would go with somebody else, give me a name. My answer, who I ended up drafting in this mock, coming up after this YouTube ad break. I went with best player available. To me, it worked with last season with Brock Bowers. I know it's a little bit of a different situation this season, but I'm going to be real with you. Me going with a running back in round 1 goes against everything that I possibly believe in for the Raiders. I believe in only teams that have a completed roster should be interested in taking a running back in round 1, especially in the top 10. But I went best player available. I also went ahead with this mock draft thinking that we're still going to have Colton Miller, so I didn't go offensive tackle. Maybe the Raiders decide to bring back a corner. We'll see what ends up happening. But one position that I know that we do need is a running back, and I went best player available. For that reason, I landed on Ashton Jeanty. Let's go to round 2 now, and you got a lot of picks here to be able to fill out a roster, and I wanted to be able to do this mock, and I'm kind of happy that I went with Jeanty just to see how the board ended up falling down, and that's probably one of my favorite parts about mock drafts. You could see how many different things that you could potentially do. Here's one pick that I love, and I got him in back-to-back mocks. It's Jihaad Campbell, and I think he would fit in almost any type of defensive system. Great athlete, could be a great replacement for Divine Diablo. The Raiders need to be able to replace the linebacker position. I'm still thinking that you're going to bring back at least Robert Spillane, but if you let Spillane and Divine both go, and then you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with the linebacker position, maybe you trust in Eichenberg, maybe you trust in Amari Burney. To me, I think it would be smart going out and getting a Jihaad Campbell to be a legit starter right away. Let's go to round 3 now for the Las Vegas Raiders. But wait a minute. You guys hear that? I thought it was Chugs. Woo, woo.
Wee, wee, wee. Trade alert, wee.
I did end up making a trade in this mock, and I ended up going up at pick number 59 with the Baltimore Ravens. And the only way that I was able to get this deal done was I gave the Ravens a 3rd-round pick. Reminder, the Raiders have 2 3rd-round picks. A 5th-round pick at 144, and then also a 6th-round pick at 208. The Raiders have 2 other 3rd-round picks. So here's the trade that I ended up doing to move up, and I wanted to go get a quarterback, so guess what? I traded up for a QB, and I ended up taking Jalen Milroe. I was told about 3 weeks ago that the Raiders weren't crazy about Milroe. I'll admit, those conversations that I had were really more based on taking a quarterback high in the draft in round 1. At pick 59, I personally think that this is phenomenal value. And I also said, if the Raiders are going to take a quarterback like Jalen Milroe, I would be a lot more interested in having a better running back because that's how I would want this offense to go. Kind of building a little bit more around like a Baltimore Ravens offense where it's going to be a little bit more run heavy with a mobile quarterback and a great running game is how I would do it. So the fact that I was able to get Ashton Jeanty, Jihaad Campbell, and Jalen Milroe, I'm feeling pretty good. Now, I had to give away some draft picks in order to do that. That definitely stinks, and I'm going to lose out a little bit here in the middle rounds. But here's my question. If I told you right now that this is what it would cost in a trade to go get Jalen Milroe, quarterback of Alabama, would you do it? You're giving up a third, a fifth, and a sixth, and then you have the ability to go up into the second round at pick number 59 and get Jalen Milroe. Was this a good or bad trade? If you don't like this trade, you're probably not going to like this mock. If you like this trade and you think it's a good one, then I think that you are going to like this mock. For me personally, I thought it was good value, and I think it's especially good value because I saw Dillon Gabriel go number 69 overall. Now, I'll tell you this. Based on what I talked to, it sounds like the Raiders like Dillon Gabriel more than they like Jalen Milroe. But I don't think that they like it based on player. I think it's more based on the overall value. Like, to me, if you told me in a draft Jalen Milroe goes 59 and then Dillon Gabriel goes 69 overall, I'm going to say that Jalen Milroe is the better value overall in there. We'll see if I'm right or wrong on that, but that's why I thought it was a good deal. That's why I thought it was a good trade, and I was able to get a stud running back, a stud linebacker, and a QB that maybe you pair him, I don't know, behind Aiden O'Connell for a year. Maybe you put him behind here. If you're going to plan on drafting Jalen Milroe, I would hope that the Raiders got a guy like Justin Fields. That way you could build kind of a similar offense overall and help Jalen kind of turn into a mobile quarterback like a Jalen Hurts of some sort. Bottom line is this. I like the value, so I thought it was a good deal. Coming up, though, I have another third-round pick thanks to the Davante Adams trade. I'll tell you who I ended up taking in the third round, which at this point in the draft, and now I'm trying to look at some other replacement pieces in terms of guys that I lost in free agency, guys that I was unable to extend, guys that I was unable to give contract extensions to. Before I tell you who I took in the third round, I'll tell you what, my first overall pick probably should have been Panda Supps. I love their protein. I love all their workout supplements, and I use Panda Supps every single day. I'm trying to get married in June. You guys always put a few LBs on me during the football season. So now I'm going to try to lose some of that weight. I'm going to try to get in the best shape of my life. The products that I'm going to use to help me get in the best shape that I've ever been in, which is not going to happen. I was in really good shape before I started working here when I was 24. But the products that I'm going to use to help me get in shape for my wedding are Panda Supps. Like, that's me being as real with you as I possibly can. Think about what products somebody would use to help get into shape for their wedding. It's products that they actually believe in. And I do use Panda Supps every day. And I do love their products. Hell, I might have to start posting more pictures on my social media to show how often I do actually use their stuff. I use their creatine. I use their protein. I use their BCAAs. If I'm going to go get a workout, you might as well get the most out of that workout. And Panda Supps is going to help you do that. Code Raiders, 20% off, pandasupps.com. What's your excuse this new year? It's not going to be that you couldn't find good protein because I just helped you find some. Let's go to round 3 now for the silver and black of what we are going to do here in this mock draft. And honestly, love the value here. Was able to go out and I got offensive lineman Donovan Jackson. And when I saw the pick, I was like, all right, where could I potentially go? What could I potentially do here with Jackson? And overall, a very good player. I should mention that this is pick 72. Not 104. That's on me for bad copywriting. But for Donovan Jackson, it's at pick 72 here in round 3. And I like this move a lot because some people are going to list him as an offensive tackle. I personally think he's just better at guard. He's played left guard for 3 seasons at Ohio State. And yes, he did play a little bit left tackle this final season with the Buckeyes. But he's a big-bodied dude. If you put him next to Colt, if you told me right now our offensive line is Colton Miller, Donovan Jackson, JPJ, Dylan Parham, DJ Glaze. The DJ Glaze I'm still a little bit nervous about, but with a good running attack than Ashton Jeanty, a good running quarterback like a Jalen Milroe, you got to build that offensive line, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of that. Let's go round 4 now of this here mock draft. And anytime that you're building a mock, when you look at round 6, round 7, I want to add a little bit more depth. Round 4, though, you can still add some good players, and I really am excited about being able to get a corner like Jacob Parrish here in round 4 at 109. Is he a little bit undersized? Yes. But based on the way that I think that the Raiders are going to play, and again, I don't know if it's going to be Patrick Graham. If it is Patrick Graham, I think Jacob Parrish would fit really well because he's good at following receivers. He's a bigger Amik Robertson is honestly how I would explain him. He's at 5'10", 195. He's a bigger Amik where dude is just... he's an annoying corner. When you turn on the tape, you're like, he follows receivers really well. He cuts into front of routes. Needs to learn how to catch the football a little bit more. But he's a pesky, annoying corner who I think could be a good replacement for a potentially like a guy like Nate Hobbs. Let's go to round 6. Reminder, I traded away 3rd, 5th, and a 6th to Baltimore to go get Jalen Milroe. And I figured, all right, I needed to add a receiver. So what I did here is I went best player available at wide receiver, and I ended up getting Ty Felton. 6'2", 180, needs to get a little bit bigger. And I think he's one of these types of players where once he gets in the NFL weight room, once he gets just, grows up and turns into a little bit more of a man, he's going to be able to put on some of that weight. When you look at Brock Bowers, Jacoby, yeah, Felton doesn't really have some of that game-breaking speed that I know that the Raiders want to be able to add. But Trey Tucker does have some speed, and the Raiders want to be able to use him, especially if you have an Ashton Jeanty, Jalen Milroe, because Trey Tucker is a good blocker at the wide receiver position. So I go wide receiver in round 6. Who could I potentially go with in round 6? I'm going to go with somebody that's going to put a smile on at least a few faces here. I'm going to go safety, Shiloh Sanders. And the Raiders need a safety. Trevon Merrick and Marcus Epps are both free agents. I believe that they're going to bring back potentially one of those guys. Now, I'll tell you this right now. Shiloh's going to get a lot of eyeballs, but here's maybe playing chess compared to checkers. What happens if Shador, whatever team he goes to, it's a bad fit? And well, if we already have his brother Shiloh, 2-3 years down the road, we're getting Shador. I know, it's a crazy thing, but I do think Shiloh is a smart player, and in round 6, could help us out with special teams, and he could also go out there and compete with a guy like Trey Taylor and Chris Smith. Let's go to the final pick here of my mock draft. In round 7, I wanted to add a dude that I thought could be a good depth player no matter where I put him. And for that reason, round 7, pick 254, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Pregnant, and offensive guard for USC. He's got a lot of playing experience, got a 72.8 overall PFF grade. Not somebody that I would want to start right away, but a big boy, right? 6'5", 320 pounds. You put him behind a JPJ. Maybe you put him behind as like your, 6th, 7th, 8th rotational player at offensive guard. But also you don't really get a player that has this much experience at a big-time school that's worked with good coaches in the 7th round. For that reason, I was excited to get this pick. So, grade my mock draft A, B, C, D, or F. If you want to take a screenshot of it, please do so. I'm actually shocked how much I like this mock, considering where I took Ashton Jeanty and considering the fact that I was able to get Jalen Milroe. I do. I'm not going to lie. I do like it a lot. Based on some of the other mocks that I've done, though, this year, which was like me getting a quarterback number 1 overall, those were A-plus mocks to me. I like this one a lot, but because taking a running back in round 1 is a little bit of a stretch for a team in the situation that the Raiders are in, but I did get good value at a lot of other positions. For that reason, I'm going to give myself a B+. Let me know down below what you thought of this mock draft.